All right. Mute that, but now I know that my sound is working, so that's always good. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me. My name is Christy Hillock. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in Salt Lake City, Utah. My business is CJ Card Creations, and I am so glad that you're with me, whether you're watching live with me tonight. And if you are, make sure that you drop a comment and let me know you're here and can see me. And if you're catching me on the replay, that is very much appreciated as well. So, hey, Janie, hey, Mom. You can drop a hashtag replay if you're catching me later. So, good to see you both. I have some fun projects. Tonight is the last night of my July heat embossing series. And so I try to achieve a faux metal look using your heat embossing. And I also just finished getting a few things together for my August class to go. So that is always a kit that you receive that includes all of the pre-cut cardstock to make the cards, as well as the PDF and hey, Aunt Pat, a half a pack of designer series paper, a bolt of ribbon, and an embellishment. And so July was actually World Watercolor Month, I think. And, leave it to me to be on the tail end of things, but thanks for sharing, both of you. I wanted to focus on watercoloring for August. So that is going to be the focus not only of the Facebook classes, but also I'm going to do a little bit with it in my class to go. And so for the class to go, you'll need ink as well as watercolor pencils. So I think that's going to be really fun. So once I finish with this video, I'll put the links for all of these things in the description, and that'll be one of the links. And then I have an in-person class coming up on August 8th, which is, oh my gosh, like 10 days or something. How are we into August? I'm super excited that Jonah's going to go back to school because I think that will help him be happier. But yeah, I can't believe summer's gone so fast, and it just feels like it's been crazy busy. We were on vacation a lot of this month actually. So I'm now trying to dig out, which is always interesting. As far as Paper Pumpkin, the next subscription period closes August 10th, so just under 2 weeks away. And it is a beautiful sunflowers focused kit that also has kind of a watercolor look to it. It makes 9 cards. There's, let's see, 2 ink spots, which is unusual and really nice. That'll help you do some 2-step stamping. And then there will also be a gift of some gold honeycomb paper die cuts, and they look really pretty. So there is that, and there will be a link to subscribe and if you haven't already subscribed to that. Now, I think that is everything, although I do have some winners. So if you share my videos and then you comment in the video description or in the comment thread that you shared, so I see that Susan, Pat, and Janie have done that, then you get entered to win a prize the next week. And so since I had a pre-recorded video up last week, I've got 2 weeks to give. And so congrats to Susan and Janie for the last couple of weeks. And then I also threw up an extra little contest earlier this week that there was a post about 153 days, and whoever commented on that post was entered. And so Jane Patterson won for that one. So congratulations to you all. I will get prizes out to you very soon. So I'm going to switch the screen and okay, so I have all the things to show you. So for tonight, we are going to make, oh my gosh, I don't know. I hope that it's clear for you guys. It looks really fuzzy on my end. We are going to make this cute little hippo card. And you can see that the bucket, I guess, is a metal look. So that is tonight's project. And then I made 2 other examples. Now this one, I don't know, because acorn caps aren't metal, but that's what I wanted to do. So that's what we got. And then I also did some copper embossing for the roof, but because this was stamped, I only did 1 layer. So it's not true faux metal look. But this does use the Rings of Love Designer Series paper, and then the coordinating, I can't think of the name, stamps and embossing folder, the Ringed with Nature bundle. So this embossing folder is amazing. And I actually pulled several other samples that I have that use either the paper or the stamps or both. So this one, I love the poinsettias. They're so pretty. And I know hippos and acorns, it's a weird combo. This one, you really get the sense of how these layer together, which I think is awesome. And the colors on this, the maybe real red or maybe poppy parade, not sure. And the mint macaron are really pretty. And then this one, I think you could use as a housewarming, which is really pretty. So these samples really feature the free paper more than some of the other things. And then this is that last one. And it uses the acorns too, but they aren't metallic on this card. So those are my samples for that. And then I do have just this one sample that I've actually shown you before, but it uses the hippos, mostly the stamps, actually entirely the stamps. I didn't use the dies on this card at all, but the dies are really going to be the focus of tonight, and they are so fun. So then my last sample uses the tree lot dies, and this is not Christmassy at all, because I wanted to show you that you just don't have to use it for Christmas. So I'm glad you like the samples, Janie. Thank you. So this is actually the free silver and gold designer series paper, and I just used my blending brush and Starry Sky ink to give it kind of an ombre look with the blue. And then I faux metal embossed these posts and the little camper, which is really, really cute. So those are the samples. And then again, oh, the whole thing's moving. That is the card that we'll make tonight. And just as a reminder, the cards that we've done this month, this was our first card, and I showed you how to make any color embossed. And then this one we embossed on vellum and then colored the actual stamped image with our blends. So if you place an order of $35 or more in my online store, you will receive a kit to make each of these cards. So if you have any questions about what to order or what supplies you might need, let me know. I'm happy to help you. The main thing that I want you to realize with all of the cards that I share every week is that you can use a lot of the things that are already in your craft stash to take what I create and turn it into your own project. So now that that's all said and done, I think we can get started. So to start, I'll just show you the stamps, the hippest hippos. So this is free with a $50 order, and they are so cute, and they totally lend themselves to coloring, whether you're doing watercolor pencils or Stampin' Blends. I'm not great at coloring with the Stampin' Write markers, but some people can make that look pretty. And you also don't have to color them at all, which is what I did tonight. So that's the stamps. And then the die set has a ton of dies, and I haven't played with it a lot. So like this looks kind of like a wave to me, but it might be useful for other things. And then the umbrella and flowers and water splashes, and you can turn your hippo into a little snorkeler. Is that a word? And then a life ring and hearts and a party hat. I just think it's so stinking cute. So let's get going. So I started with a Melon Mambo card base, and I did a little bit of this work ahead of time because all the die cutting takes a little more time than I like to spend when I have you live. So let me see. So what I started with was just a plain piece of basic white, and I'm just going to show you kind of how I layered it up here. And then I put this strip across the center, and then I have this smaller panel to put like that. So this actually is from a sketch that I found online because I had been on vacation, totally had vacation brain, and could not come up with a thing. So that was how I started. And what I did then was take the sketch and just go to town. So I'll post that sketch as well. If you create something of your own, I would love to see it. So make sure you drop that over on my, I'll actually put the sketch in my group page. And if you would like to participate, just throw your own picture into the comment thread. So I'm going to pull just a couple of the hippos first and stamp them in my smoky slate ink. I really just wanted it to be kind of subtle, so that's why I didn't go with a darker gray. So I'm wondering if I can fit both of them. Oh yeah, there we go. The tree lot dies are really amazing too if you haven't looked at them. That's another set that has a ridiculous number of dies that don't have anything to do necessarily with the stamp set that coordinates. So you can go either way. You know, you can use the stamps with the dies, or you can use the dies totally independently, which is what I did with that camper card. So just going to clean. So this is my beautiful Stampin' Chamois that I use to clean stamps, and it is just a wet chamois, except that it's super thick and it looks filthy, but it is actually just stained. And so I wash it weekly just with my towels on warm water, and keeps it really clean. It never affects my towels. So if you're looking for a good way to clean your stamps, that's really my favorite. All right, so I'm also going to pull out my sentiment, and it says, "Oh, you're the best," which sounds totally like something I say. So get that lined up on here, and I'm going to stamp on my pool party panel in Pool Party ink. So I'm going to do this, make sure I've got it nice and inked. I caught an edge earlier and had to flip it over and try again. I was kind of annoyed. So that's why we did that first, to make sure that that wasn't going to happen again. All right, now I'm going to bring it in my blender brush and pick up some ink. And then I'm just going to get rid of that very first little bit. And now I'm going to go all around the outside edge of this panel, just because I wanted it to have a little more dimension without having to add layers or dry embossing or anything like that. So I am not adding ink to the center of this panel, which is why I'm using that dry spot to hold the panel while I add ink. So you could also have, you know, like another piece of cardstock that you put over it. I just kind of do it that way, and usually I don't get too grimy. Okay, so we're done with that piece. And now what we're going to do is get to work with our embossing. So this is yet another place where I've been using my reverse tweezers a ton. So These little things are amazing. So I am actually, the first time I don't really need to do it, but I'm just going to set this on my ink pad face down and pick up a bunch of the ink. And I did re-ink this pad today because I've been doing so much heat embossing that it was getting just a little bit dry. So bring this over to my high-tech coffee filter that has been used a ton and sprinkle my copper embossing powder over. And now is where I want those tweezers because I really don't want to stick my fingers in the powder. So I'm just going to grab it just like that. Okay. Try to do all the things without making some horrific mess. So I'm going to heat up my heat tool for just a second before I actually put it towards the paper. So the technique as far as the actual heat embossing is not any different from what I've shown you in the last couple of weeks. But it's the fact that we're going to do it multiple times that's going to give us that faux metal look. And I just love seeing how all of a sudden it starts to change. I don't know if I'm getting that to show very well, but all right, so I'm just gonna go over it, make sure I got all of the spots. And while that sits for just a second, I am going to die cut these cute little hippos. So I am using these, and the reason I have two, one is going to go on the inside of the card just to carry the theme through. So I'm just going to line these up carefully right here and then grab some post-it tape before I go over to the die cutting machine, because this one is pretty fitted to the images and I want to make sure that I get kind of an even halo all the way around. So set this down just like that and I'll be right back. Because of course, today I did not think to pull out the mini machine that goes well on my table. But since this is the only thing I'm die cutting tonight, I think it's okay. All right, so we have hippo number 1 and hippo number 2. And now I think this has had enough time to really kind of set. So we're just going to repeat that process. I'm going to drop this into the ink pad again, and I'm going to use the tip of this to get enough of that Versamark ink kind of around the edges. And this time I'm going to pick it up from a different spot, and the reason that I'm doing that is just to try to have it all pretty even as far as the copper. Okay. Whoop, that did not do what I meant for it to do. Good thing this brushes off pretty easily. Okay, so do this process again. And for most of these pieces, I did do this 3 times and decided that that gave it a pretty good look. Okay, let that sit for a minute while I clean up the ridiculous mess that I just made. This is why you don't try to do all the things without cleaning up in between. I'll just brush that back. Should be fine. All right, and I still have enough powder in my little cup here that I'm not worried about trying to reuse what's here. I'll just pour it all back into the container at the very end. So we're going to go for one last little, actually, didn't get that one corner, the handle, I guess. There we go. All right, so I'm going to stick this back in my ink pad for one last time. So this is not a difficult technique, but it does take a little more time than your average heat embossing. So it's another one that you might not do for something that you're making multiples of. But if you're, just sending a birthday card to somebody special, then this is great to really jazz it up. Be a little more careful about how I do that this time. Close up my ink pad. And then because it doesn't really matter once the powder's on there, I'm just going to finish cleaning this up before I blow it all over the room. So our heat embossing additions toolkit, I think is what it's called, something along those lines, has a tray that you can do this so that you don't have to use the coffee filter. The one that I had ordered off of Amazon a few years ago, I did not love because it had a fair amount of static in it. I am hoping that this one from Stampin' Up! Will not have that same problem, but I haven't heard anything yet, so I have to check it out once I get ready to order that new kit. Okay, and so, well, let's do just a little bit more across the top. There we go. So I'm going to bring this up, try to catch the light so you can see all of those kind of divots in it, just really give it a little bit more of a sort of dented metal look. So I love it. I think it's really just so fun to do that. So now all that we have left is to build our card. So I'm going to go ahead and start assembling everything. Hopefully, looks like we're right on time still. So just going to use my liquid glue because it is a little bit easier since I actually couldn't find my seal refill from when I ran out 2 weeks ago. I have stamped very little because, like I said, we spent a week out of town. So it's just been busy here. Yeah, Jenny, I don't know, our embossing buddy maybe would have taken out the static. I haven't tried that, or a dryer sheet or something, but I just got aggravated and decided that I didn't need it enough to fiddle with it. So that's why I went back to my coffee filters. But like I said, I haven't heard, haven't heard about this new one. I do really want the reverse tweezers from the new toolkit because they're Teflon tipped instead of metal. And so I think, at least I think it's Teflon. Maybe it's silicone. I don't know. I can't remember. But anyway, I think that would just potentially be a little bit gentler on like this embossing look. All right, so I have just a little bit of overhang there that I didn't trim off ahead of time because I would rather trim off excess than have it be too short. So now we've got this. And now before I adhere this piece, I'm actually just going to kind of lay everything out because I don't want my hippo and my bucket to be floating. So I'm going to go back in with my Stampin' Blend and just ground those a little bit. But I want to lay out everything first. So I die cut all of these flowers ahead of time because, as you can see, there are a bunch of them and they're they're layered, and I didn't want to have you guys have to watch me stick flowers together, because that I figure you can probably do. So, trying to decide what the easiest way to do this will be, and I think what I'll do is just get started. So I want my hippos standing just a little bit higher. So, and I did this on the sample, and it really, because I used the light pool party, it's just the faintest of shadows. So I'm just gonna go pretty heavy with it to try to get at least a little shadow. I just didn't want it to be a different color and have it be a really kind of dramatic look. So that's why I went with the light pool party. All right, now we can go ahead and glue on our hippo. Jenny, if you do try that dryer sheet, let me know how it works, because I can't think of anything else that might do the trick, but I will certainly keep looking too, especially if I hear that the new one isn't always static free. So, okay, now that that's sitting there, I am just going to lay out my flowers and leaves, and I honestly don't know. I thought I'd cut another leaf, but I guess I didn't. I don't know if these were meant to be leaf dies or not, but it's what I did with them, and I think it's gonna work just fine. So we'll go just kind of set everything out. Let's see. Kind of want some height variety. I think that'll be about how we want it. So now that I can kind of visualize what it's going to turn out looking like, I'll go ahead and add just a little bit of glue. And again, I can pick up my cardstock with a cute little tweezer there, and just makes it a little easier for me to keep my fingers from getting gluey. And you can see glue is oozing out just a touch, and if I cared, I could have done glue dots instead of liquid glue, but I just honestly think that it doesn't really show when it's in those little nooks like that. So I'm choosing not to worry about it. So if you wanted to get super fancy, you could also, now I'm gonna run out of glue too, you guys. All the things. You could add a rhinestone to the center of these flowers and just really jazz it up. I just decided I wasn't going to go crazy with all the bling on this particular card, because there's a lot of color and a lot of little bits. So, oh, seriously. I have glue dots somewhere. Let's see if I can find them. Right there. So, I hope that you have all really enjoyed this series on heat embossing. I will say that doing 3 different ways of doing a certain technique is challenging my creativity, which is great. I really love that. So, if you have ideas for things that you would like to learn, I would love to hear them. Like I mentioned, I'm going to do watercoloring for August. So I think that that series is going to be really fun. So it, the heat embossing and the watercoloring really make you feel like you have some artistic abilities, which is nice because I don't have any kind of like drawing skills or anything, that you might typically attribute to being artistic. Oh, it's little bits. But I do like the way things come together using what Stampin' Up! Has given me. Oh my gosh, I don't know why that won't come. All right. Well, Janie, I'm glad that you've enjoyed this. I really like that all of our embossing tools kind of come as a set, and so you get several powders in one set. And it just is nice because then you have all of the things instead of, always wishing that you had one more. So if you have any other questions that you would like me to answer for you, please let me know. If I don't know, I'm always happy to go and do some research because I like to know new things too. So get that as centered and straight as I can, which, always changes once I move the card. But anyway, there is that. And now for the inside, just this kind of final touch, I decided that I wanted a slightly smaller card liner, and then I'm going to put my little hippo like that. So kind of looks like she's standing up against a chalkboard or something. But it's funny, I don't know that kids will ever know the horrors of chalkboards and cleaning the erasers and the clouds of chalk. Jonah just has whiteboards at school, which they're really nice, but I actually hate the dry erase markers because he gets them all over his clothes. So that stuff doesn't come out. All right, get this last little hippo on here. And honestly, I put more glue on there than I normally would, and I think that's probably just because I've got a little less control with my bottle of glue because it is running so low. So, oh, Janie, those gnomes, I'm telling you, I looked at those and I think they're so cute, but I was not going to get them. And I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold out. So make sure you show me your cute gnome card, and then I'll probably have to go order that set. All right, so there is our little space to write our note and our finished card. Now, if I can find the other cards that I had done, that would be fabulous. But I don't know where I threw them. So this might have to do. That's the way it goes. Yes, they are super cute. And I was telling my mother-in-law a couple months ago before that set came out that I just really wasn't that into gnomes because she had, I don't know, found one or something. And I don't know, I think maybe I'm having to rethink my position. So, all right, these are the cards from July. So let me know if you have any questions or if you would like to receive these kits. Let me know if I can help you with placing an order or anything else that you might be wondering about. So thank you so much for joining me. I am always so glad to chat with you on Thursday evenings, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your night and a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Okay, thank you so much. Bye.